In this tutorial, we'll be reviewing the functionality of all the Arena tab controls and how to control the paddles and gates in the Arena window in the Pink Pong Generator Ableton Live MIDI device. First, let's click this pop-up window icon to float the resizable Pink Pong pop-up arena for a larger view. All of the controls you see in this pop-up window are mirrored in the main device window. I'm going to disable one of the two balls so we can hear more clearly the results from the parameter changes. Let's start our transport. When the ball strikes one of the white paddles or hits the fat part of one of the three gates, a note is generated. All paddles and gates can be resized in multiple ways. Using your mouse, simply click and drag over the area you wish to set the paddles and gates. The vertical position of where the ball hits a paddle or gate determines the high-low of the note's pitch. The higher it hits on the screen, the higher the pitch, and the lower it hits on the screen, the lower the pitch. Holding Command on Mac or Windows key on Windows while you click and drag in the Arena window allows you to move the paddles and gates up and down while maintaining their size. Holding Shift and clicking around a paddle or gate will change just one upper or lower boundary, depending on where you click. You can change the number of gates by clicking the toggles at the bottom of the Arena window. The gates create rhythmic subdivisions to the note length you've set for your paddles, which is represented by the slider set to quarter note that is to the right of the horizontal arrows for the pink ball. 3 gates with quarter note subdivision causes the gates to trigger 16th notes. 2 gates causes 8th note triplets, and 1 gate creates 8th notes. No gates means there are no subdivisions to the note length you've set for each respective ball. Different number of gates with various paddle note lengths can create a seemingly infinite variety of rhythmic patterns. Let's take a deeper dive into the movement controls for each ball, which really function as visualizations of the rhythm. All of these reddish-pink parameters control the rhythm of the pink ball. The settings next to the horizontal arrows control how fast the pink ball moves horizontally across the screen, again, which determines the rhythmic pattern. Setting this movement toggle to the note icon will synchronize output to Live's tempo. I'll turn on the metronome so you can hear the quarter notes generated for each paddle hit. Let's hear how different values sound. Here, we hear a note every 3/8 notes when a paddle is struck. Now, every half note or 2 beats. With 1 gate added, I've created quarter note subdivisions. 2 gates makes this quarter note triplets, and 3 gates make these 8th notes. With my paddle-to-paddle horizontal speed now at a whole note, the 3 gates create quarter note subdivisions. Changing the toggle to Hertz mode desynchronizes the ball's movement with Live's tempo, and instead causes a fixed number of back and forth movement per second. A value of 1.00 Hertz means the pink ball will travel 1 full time in the course of a second. As you hear, higher numbers can create some pretty chaotic effects. The multiplier number works only in sync mode, and simply multiplies the length of the note value by the number in the box. If my note value is 1 whole note, then a multiplier of 4 will mean that it will take 4 full measures for the ball to travel across the arena in one direction. Adding 3 gates means that the ball will strike a gate or paddle every measure. The controls next to the up-down arrow are identical to the horizontal controls, except that it controls the vertical speed. which essentially means that instead of determining the rhythm of the ball, it will determine how long it takes to complete a full movement through the pitch range defined for the ball. When you set both horizontal and vertical movement to sync mode, you get repeatable loops. When the vertical movement is set to simple note values like quarter, half, or whole notes, the loops are very predictable and don't change much. This VPOS, or vertical position slider, is one of the subtle gems of this software. The height of the slider corresponds to the vertical starting position of the respective ball. And so when you have the simple quarter or half note vertical movement note values, subtle changes to the VPOS slider will essentially give you a new loop. You can play around endlessly with this function, and with resizing the gates and paddles to create tons of loop variation. So you can get a sense of the interaction of all these parameters, I'm going to spend the next couple minutes playing with different combinations of these values, as well as with resizing the gates and paddles and introducing the blue ball as well. Feel free to skip ahead for a review of the last few controls in the arena. Let's activate the blue ball. If we set the pink and blue ball horizontal and vertical sync settings to be identical, we'll get a two-part harmony. Of course, that is governed by whether or not the balls hit the paddle simultaneously. Setting their VPOS sliders slightly off from each other will ensure that they're not playing the same note, assuming your settings in the sound tab are still at the default. Let's play around with these settings to see what we can come up with. The last arena parameter to control a musical change are these legato buttons under each ball activate toggle. Because we are using a percussive sound, you won't hear the difference with the legato toggle, so instead we'll record the output to see the difference. To do this, add another MIDI track, then set the input to receive MIDI from the track with your Ping Pong Generator. I'm also preparing this track to send MIDI back to the wavetable instrument on the Ping Pong Generator track if I choose later to hear back what I've recorded. When the legato toggle is active, a triggered note will be held indefinitely until another note is triggered when a ball hits a paddle or passes through the fat part of a gate. When the legato toggle is deselected, or inactive, a note off will be triggered whenever the ball hits a wall or passes through any portion of the gate subdivision. You can see the difference in the results here on the recorded MIDI track. The last parameter on the Arena tab is the graphics toggle. This is mostly useful for if you have a particularly heavy session. Setting the graphics toggle to SD disables the flashing colors of the gates and also makes the ball movement less smooth in order to save on some CPU. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Check out the next few in the series to learn more about the sound and game tabs on the Ping Pong Generator. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tutorials, tips, and content involving 4-chamber sound's Pink line of generative composition tools.